This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jacob in Payne, and once again, Aaron Neville's in my mind as I look at our teaser graphic and think, look at this face. Look at this face. And that's not a real face, obviously, it's a plastic face, but we'll get to that in a moment. We have 8 stories for you today that were deemed conversational by you from Thursday and a little bit of this morning. And here's a little bit of inside baseball. We are usurping the top story because it was usurped by us on top of things. So the top story, one you get a chance to vote on, but you'll definitely want to talk about going forward. Now, these conversational topics cover current events, pop culture, information, and also politics news. We're dealing with China, which is overtaking everything. Pat McAfee is back. He technically never left. We'll explain that going forward. And King Ken James, LeBron Ken James, the new LeBron James Ken doll, which has Ken a bit envious because he's actually about an inch taller than Ken is. So maybe Ken's not enough. We are going to talk about these things and more stories. Remind you right now that our website, thisisconversationproject.com, is our online home for all the stuff about us. You can also email me at theconversationinbox@gmail.com to get some conversation. And of course, we're being sponsored today by Very Boring Investment Advice Newsletters. Again, go to the website, Very Boring Business Advice, and see the newsletters we're talking about. Get some stock picks. I am not a stock analyst. I'm not a stock expert. We're just trying to learn together, and we'll talk about that in more detail towards the end of the show. Right now, let's talk about Friday, April 11th, which is actually talking about Thursday. Stories you vetted yesterday as conversational. 8 stories queued up. No particular order as they're in, but we put them in sort of the best way to tell the narrative. In fact, as I said, the top story you didn't get a chance to look at because it didn't get posted till right before I started working on the stuff. I wanted to make it put it in there in the range. So it's in the range, but this is kind of important and needs an explanation for all of us. Headline story, top story, story number 1 for today. China to raise tariffs on U.S. goods from 84% to 125% starting Saturday. That is tomorrow, as I record this on Friday, the 11th of April. Saturday, tomorrow, these tariffs will go into effect like magic. China announced this stuff essentially late in the night for us, early in the day for them, raising them from the 84% they said they were going to do the other day to 125, and they are effective tomorrow. This comes after Trump actually re-raised the tariff rates from the 125, he said, to 145. Now, here's some of the things that make this a bit more interesting. The Chinese government said they're going to raise these tariffs to 125%, and they're done. They're calling what the U.S. is doing economic bullying, so they're not going to go to full nuclear retaliation, just escalation of everything. They're going to stop at 125 because it's useless at that point to go any further. Trump, of course, upped it from 125 to 145, so you got that going forward there, and it goes back and forth. Now, if this is supposed to be a big trading sort of chip to have something to come to the table, it doesn't seem to be working, at least not with China. So we'll see how this thing works out. But as all American goods get a tariff of 125%, all Chinese goods get a tariff of 145%. It seems like things out of China, which are known to be cheap, are not going to be so cheap. And things going into China from the U.S. is known to be, for whatever reason, are great, will be double expensive. Now, one of the biggest people that will have issues with this is guys like Elon Musk, who has a lot of interest in China, a lot of money going into China. And ironically, the electric cars that he sells over there are mostly made from stuff here in the United States and assembled here in the States and then shipped over there. So that's a big boon for him, plus other things like some Starlink things and whatnot going forward. This is escalation. This is bad. This is bad. Let me say this one more time for folks who don't understand this. This is bad. How to fix this? We don't know, because no one can seem to come up with an idea from the outside what the off ramp is, how Donald Trump actually pulls, slows down, or he just slams the brakes and just sort of stops and stares at things going forward. We don't know what the boogeyman he's actually running from or running to is, but we know that this situation, which he, and only he can make it worse, he is making it worse. We're sticking with China and tariffs for a bit. First off, the tariffs, and this is going to Apple, as Apple tried to airlift 600 tons of iPhones back to the U.S. immediately to beat the Trump's tariffs that were happening essentially today, and rushing to get consumers to get good phones for less prices. Now, it's a strategic move to basically mitigate the impact of escalating U.S. tariffs by getting them here in the States before the tariffs can arrive, essentially getting here so they have to go through that portal to deal with that money going through. About 1.5 million units, 600 tons of iPhones, were shipped in from India to the United States immediately. The operation involved at least 6 chartered cargo flights that sent coming in from a while. They've been doing this for a bit, since early March, aiming to have a predictive stockpile in case devices were issued, had some things going on. Now, if Nintendo Switch could have saw this coming, maybe they could do the same thing. But right now, it seems like only Apple had the power to see this coming or actually get it done, and they're getting it done in this way. Of course, China is facing, as we did this article, 125% tariffs, which are now 145. India's tariffs are about 26%, which are now being suspended for 90 days. That sort of blanket 10% there. Still, Apple wanted to save some money on all these iPhones and have them in stock without any issues going forward. So they did that. They had the facilities in India, just kind of ramp them up, pack them up, put them on some charters, and fly them across at the tariff rates they are at right now, as opposed to anything that would go into effect in the future, in the back and forth, going whatever. There's going to be some challenges to get these things sold because, if you actually build an iPhone here in the States, the retail price is going to increase. The $1,000 iPhone, which is highly subsidized in the first place, it would be basically a $3,500 iPhone, still subsidized, still being paid off, on those 4-year plans. So you have time to pay it. But for all that new technology every single year, $3,500 a phone might seem like a lot. Now, me personally, I bought one of those Google fold phones when they came out, waited a little bit to see they would not break on, and got those. And I will tell you, at paying basically twice the cost of an iPhone, it was not a great investment. It's not a bad phone. It just didn't turn out to be the future as I thought it was going to be. But I do use it to flip it up and watch TV on it. So it gets that novelty. But as far as paying $2,000 for one phone, wasn't the best idea in John Payne's life. And it's slowly being worked off. Will I ever do that again? No. Will I buy an iPhone for $1,000? Not a big iPhone fan, but maybe if I need one because they're good for functionality. $3,500? No. We're going back to China, and we're talking about tariffs, but we're talking about an import of a totally different thing. This is IP, and we're not even talking about the IP that China's actually stealing from us. China's going to limit their entertainment from the United States, as we are a big exporter of movies and television and media, by bringing in less films because of the tariff fight. This escalation part was announced before the 125% tariff as well. But China has announced that the reduced number of American films premiering in its province due to, tariffs. It's the direct response to the recent response of what was 125% tariffs, now 145. The China Film Administration stated that U.S. government abuse of tariffs would inevitably diminish Chinese audiences favorably towards American films, prompting a moderate reduction in films imports. So in basic words, the U.S. is a bad guy. They're meanies. They're doing not so nice things for China. So we're going to buy less of their films. Yeah, they're great films. They're artistic. Things blow up. We love us some Marvel. We love us watching a black guy beat up a white guy turned red guy in a movie, we think. But we don't need your stuff. We have plenty of stuff here. In fact, we have your IP. We'll just steal it and make our own stuff. Historically, China's been a vital market for Hollywood, essentially making big money for these foreign box office. However, because of what's happening with the whole thing and the tariffs and the Trump and the Xi and the whatnot, they're going to back that thing up, essentially. The highest grossing film in the Chinese market was called Ninjas 2, an animated film that grossed $1.8 billion in China alone. So things like that can show that the domestic work, the stuff that's happening for China, they can do without Walt Disney or Warner Brothers. They may get a chance to miss out on Coyote versus Acme, which would probably be their loss. I think they may agree with that one. But they're going to stand up for their principles and charge us 120% for our stuff. There we go. We're sticking with tariffs. We're back in the States, or coming back to the States, I guess, as Trump's proposed pharmaceutical tariffs, which will hopefully mean they'll actually manufacture these drugs here in the States, will basically shut down operations and have shortages. Now, Donald Trump has proposed tariffs on pharmaceutical imports as well, extra on those things, basically as a way to have people buy stuff here that is made here. It makes sense. If things are more expensive out there, then you would buy more domestically. If Hunt's tomato sauce all of a sudden costs too much extra, then I'd more likely buy more of the store brand. But here's how that analogy doesn't work out. I'm going to buy the store brand anyway because of the pennies I'm saving, because I know that store brand is canned by Hunt's anyway. They just put a little less sugar, a little more pepper or something like that. So it's different. And I'm going to take it home and I'm going to butcher it up the way I want to. I'm going to add my own spices to it. So it doesn't make a difference what I'm getting. And I saved you, it may be 20 cents a can. If you really think about it, at added time, it makes a difference, especially if you're a larger consumer looking for things on that end. For the pharmaceuticals, for the drugs that are basically we're importing at such a low cost, most of them are generics that don't actually make much money anyway. So if you have a generic drug that's being produced in Pakistan, for example, just a place that I know we're doing a tariff on, it will cost a little more to get that generic drug, and someone here in the States can produce it for a lesser cost. There's that. But in most cases here in the States, they're not producing a lot of it because they're not making a lot of money off it, just enough to make sure they're in the market and can be somebody near where they can basically input their new drug. The Pakistanis will say, hey, this is not worth it because they're not making that much money. The tariffs are raising the cost of it. We're going to stop. And the U.S. manufacturer, who doesn't want to make more of it because it doesn't make them any money, will probably either raise the cost to what Pakistan would have charged you, so it's going to cost more, and not make as much anyway. That's how tariffs work, and that's how it worked here for Europe pharmaceuticals. So adding 25% to the imported medications from China, India, and Ireland, for example, would essentially mean China, India, and Ireland, and India and China, said those things 3 times, would probably just stop producing it because it's not worth the money, or sell it to other folks at the same price with more stuff and have their supply be bigger. And then we buy it from those countries and we pay extra going forward. This is the problem with the markets and how things work out. It's not as simple as if buy low, sell high. There are conditions that we make to make things lower or higher based on how we want markets to manipulate, how we want to buy stuff, and just how great things are. Someone from another nation can create this great thing, which is awesome, and we may buy it because we love it, what's going ever. But we may have comparable things here in the States that we don't want to be rushed out. We don't want cheap goods. We don't want purely cheap goods that are terrible and break all the time, so we're forced to buy stuff, although we actually kind of do want that stuff, but we do want them better made. But tariffs on everything become issues, and companies like Novartis is saying that, hey, adding money to the cost of what I have going here will make things harder for us to do this stuff. And, oh, by the way, building a plant in the States, by the time we get those things up and running, you won't be president anymore. Or you shouldn't be president anymore, Donald Trump, because it'll take about 5 years or so to get these things up and running and get them into pipeline. So you shouldn't be president anymore. Keep that in the back of your mind. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Quick pause from the news. 4 more stories to go, we promise. But first, we're going to ask you to help us grow our News Nerd Nation by getting you to show what your thumbs can do by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the works we're doing. Now, this here video long form thing we produce for your YouTube, for your X, for your Facebook, every single weekday, plus the one we do for the wrap up for Saturday. And we do this partly because I need the news coverage that I want, better news coverage. I need the interaction with you guys to see what things actually seem conversational. And to make it worthy of something, I got to produce something that is worthy. And hopefully you think it's worthy. If you like it, hit like. Hit the smiley face on your Facebook. Hit the little mean face if you think it's something that's a little bit cheesing you off a little bit. Whatever you do. Engage in the stories and like it, like this video here, so the algorithms on YouTube, Facebook, and X will send it to more people and we get more views. We want more virality, a word I actually got right this time, and I need you to like it to show me, A, I'm doing good stories, and B, the algorithms can think I'm doing good stories and share with them. Now, we need you to share those with like-minded folks right off the bat so they get the direct line to what's happening. Ask them to like it and share it as well so we get more people in the queue for you. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing and it's being shared to you, or the algorithm is blessing me to bless you with it, go ahead and subscribe to it so you send your feeds when you go looking for it. We're on Facebook, X, and YouTube for this thing here. We're also on TikTok, and for the hot takes, we have the long form audio version of this on our website. You'll find it there. You'll see our email newsletter, subscribe to there as well, and other places where you can get more stuff from us. Go to our website and see all the things you can see. This is theconversationproject.com. And see all the things you can see. But make sure you are liking, sharing, and subscribing so we get the juice that we know that we're doing good. And we get the juice from the YouTubes, from the Googles, so more people see stuff and we get more people involved. The more people involved here, the less I ask for money. There you go. The next 4 stories just sort of fell in place with all the tariff stuff. We had to kind of palate cleanse, even though some of these stories aren't very pleasant to the palate. Here's a story that I put up there. and it gathered some interest, and some of the comments on it were sort of head scratching, which were where I was. So we're going to read it from the robot editor, read the story, and leave it to you to engage in if you want to, because this is one that takes a lot of mental gymnastics to kind of go along with it. Although technically it doesn't, because it falls in line with what the administration is doing. Now, the headline for story number 5: Pete Hegseth, the Trump advisor, Trump advisor Pete Hegseth, I don't know why I call him Trump advisor, urges Pentagon to cut ties with Scouting America. Now, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is asking the Pentagon, or telling him because he's their boss, that they should remove themselves from any long-standing ties with Scouting America, which, of course, formerly known as the Boy Scouts of America, because, as you can guess, too woke, citing inclusion of girls to scouting in general and the emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Which was away from traditional values, which is, I guess, but traditional values was, as this was made in Britain with many white kids, scouting is a very diverse and very liberating sort of thing. I was a Boy Scout. Many people of many races, creeds, and colors are Boy Scouts and learn a lot of great things on nationality, on the good sense, and some military background, and that sort of thing. Military families, veterans, and scouting supporters are big military veterans, families, and scouting supporters. They're really big on the military and like to have these things engaged in themselves. Now, critics argue that Scouting America continues to instill core values, leadership, service, and patriotism closely with the military principles. The difference now is there are girls involved in the main scouts, and they're trying to include people in there so more people can learn those values of leadership, service, and patriotism. It's not about lessening the values. It's about bringing more people who weren't attuned to how we do things, said on purpose, to how we do things and make people there. It's the same indoctrination that we have, except we're indoctrinating people that don't quite look like us. And I say that knowing I don't quite look like the us that they're talking about. So that we have a better world of people who are more sympathetic on our end and going to fight for our values, and not just kind of move to the wayside. So there's a broader tension between youth organizations in shaping future leaders. And the biggest thing is inclusion of women into workplace things and in efforts, and girls specifically for the Scouts and DEI efforts in general. As I said, you want to bring more people of diverse natures, which is not like the main program, to grow the program. If you bring in 25% more people of a different race, you have 25% more people in your group, and it's larger. It has more people to function from. It has more cash to pull from as they pay their dues and do the things. And the number of Eagle Scouts, 3,500 Eagle Scouts essentially is the rough average of how many people have actually gone to academies. And those aren't just white kids. So think about this one before you push this. I know DEI is a buzzword because I know that I am a buzzword. So let's get that straight. But if you're really looking for a stronger workforce, a stronger military force, stronger force in general, you might want to bring in everybody you can and not just say, oh, these people who are of a different color or these people who are girls can't hack it. When chances are they're hacking it just as well on their own, you might want them on your side when the time comes. Now, this one is definitely not a palate cleanser. This is more info on Soulja Boy, who has been found liable of sexual assault and kidnapping of a former assistant. Let me read this story and move off this one. This is one that you guys really, really did want to get involved in when we put it out there because it's a big deal. Everybody's favorite fun guy rapper from 10, 15 years ago is now dealing with the liability as the Andre Cortez Way, the legal name of Soulja Boy, was found liable in civil assault lawsuit filed by his former personal assistant. It was identified as a Jane Doe for this case. Jury awarded her over $4 million in compensatory damage and claims of sexual abuse, physical abuse, sexual assault, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Initiated that in January 2021, the alleged Doe began working for Soulja Boy in December 2018 for $500 a week. Shortly after that, she claimed he began sending unsolicited explicit images, bad text, and entered into a brief consensual relationship that turned violent. Lawsuit detailed that multiple incidents includes physical and sexual violence, including being punched unconscious and locked in a room without hot water. Doe also reported that the allegations, and the authorities reported this to authorities in 2020. No criminal charges were filed at that time due to no evidence, insufficient evidence for the case. Soulja Boy has denied all allegations, expressing frustration with being held civilly liable without criminal conviction. A subsequent phase of trial will determine punitive damages going forward, but right now, $4 million of what is liable for. Jane Doe's attorney expressed satisfaction with the jury's decision and their validation of the victim's claim. This is a return, if you will, as we did a story on this weeks ago, probably maybe months ago at this point. And it keeps popping up as the algorithm keeps bringing it up as the story doesn't go away. We have a resolution, in a sense, as a new update for this one, as Pat McAfee vows to find a silver lining after the viral sexual rumor sparked controversy. And these are rumors that Pat McAfee on his show, The Pat McAfee Show, is dealing with the backlash referencing a false, salacious rumor involving Mary Kate Cornett, a University of Mississippi freshman, where it was rumored that something that originated on Yik Yak alleged that Cornett had an affair with her boyfriend's father, which was false. It was unfounded. There was really no proof of it, but it was something he brought up during a show at the NFL Combine. Because he did not name Cornett in the actual context for that, but people kind of figured out and went from there. From there, harassment of Cornett went bonkers, including doxing, swatting incidents, and threats to her life. And she moved into emergency houses and had to switch to online classes because everyone was basically mad at her for something she didn't do, for something Pat McAfee said that she didn't do, but said she did it. All makes sense? With that, Cornett publicly condemned both ESPN and McAfee for their role in perpetrating the rumor, stating that their actions have caused her immense emotional stress, disrupting her life, and is preparing to take legal action. Not quite yet, but getting there against the others and ESPN and McAfee who spread the falsehoods over the time. Now, in response to this controversy, McAfee has basically addressed his situation in a live event he had in Pittsburgh. Not on his show, but in a live event. He talked about his regret. He had a quote saying, "I never, ever want to be a part of anything negative in anybody's life, ever," and promised to try to figure out that and make some sort of silver lining in this terrible situation. Someone had him ask about an apology, or someone asked about apology. He did not give a formal apology. So there's context in that one, but he is going to try to make life better. As a fan of Pat McAfee, but not of his show, I would like to think that he does have the goodness in his heart to just be the big old dumb jock guy and just have fun and try to fix this thing if possible. I believe that. Whether it turns out true or not, I believe other folks have that sort of energy and they don't quite come to riff or they don't quite get successful in it. We'll have that one. Right now, internal tensions at ESPN, the massive rift that's being said about the staff members and McAfee himself over the handling situation is just sort of rumor innuendo. We don't know anything. Nothing's been out there officially. So there's some rumor innuendo, some things in the trade saying that maybe there's some issues. There's plenty of issues about McAfee and the way he handles his show anyway, because people just don't like they just don't like the cut of his jib, to be honest. It's not the way the old guys do it. But in cases like this one, where you actually say bad words or say words to effect that have bad consequences on people, consequences matter. And the consequences usually fall to other folks when people are on the higher stature, higher upgrade, like Pat McAfee. Hopefully something can happen to eventually get Cornett in some manner of a nice lifestyle. We know how folks like Monica Lewinsky took them 30 years to get there. But hopefully something will happen and McAfee can do something to make amends and really make amends in this one. I'm a fan of McAfee. I'm a fan of Pat. So hopefully he can right this ship and it's not just sycophants and cultists who are just going to cheer for him. He's back in the good graces of all of us. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for days, as the Ken has arrived in the form of LeBron James, and backlash has begun, although James thinks it's kind of cool. Now, Mattel released the LeBron James-inspired Ken doll, which is having a wave of reaction on social media. He has been dubbed the Ken Ambassador and marks the first time a professional male athlete has been featured on a Ken doll. Other folks have bad dolls before. First time a pro athlete is now a Ken. And the LeBron James Ken doll is actually giving some notice to the other Kens out there, because maybe you're not enough. Maybe there is something in this going on, because he's an inch taller because he plays basketball. And he's wearing accessories that he's known for. He's wearing a starter jacket, we're basically a high school letter jacket. He's got sneaks, he's got a ball, he's got things going on. And he says a t-shirt that says "We Are Family," which is representing his foundation, the James Family Foundation. Nikes, of course, Beats headphones because he's in that. A fanny pack, a gold watch, and an I Promise wristband. The doll is priced at $75. It'll be available at Target, Walmart, Amazon, and Mattel Creations online starting on Monday. So log in and get yourself this here doll for your collection. I say doll, not action figure, because Barbies are dolls. They're not action figures. Get it straight. Despite the positive intentions behind the doll's release, criticism, because that's what we do, have come online, with social media users mocking the doll's design and questioning the necessity of LeBron James as a Ken doll himself. Critics have also highlighted the doll's manufacturing origins, i.e., it comes from China. Drawn attention to James's past comments about China-related controversies. We're not going into that right now, but it does give people a way to point their finger at the doll and maybe use it for voodoo in their own right. I don't know if you're into that type of stuff. James is expressing pride in collaboration, is emphasizing the importance of positive role models for youth. In a statement, he said, "It's an opportunity to recognize the powerful impact of role models who instill confidence, inspire dreams, and show kids that they too can achieve greatness. But they can't all be Ken dolls. So get that straight, kids. You can be great, but you can't be LeBron James, and you ain't getting a Ken doll. And it ain't going to be an inch taller if you got one. So deal with it." Lots of discussion going back and forth, broader conversations on celebrity influence, China, and action figures going forth. Let's get into it. Let's get into it at the teasing part for the weekend, because it's going to take all weekend for this story to make it go. And it's going to take it's going to be some teasing. And I use this specifically. Now, let me tell you the story first, and we'll explain how teaser stories get into the feeds and get into your heads and get into our heads and get into these things here. The headline, something that picked up somewhere in the rash of tariff, and that guy's in Russia to do some talks, is a young man, very young man, 17-year-old runner named Gout. He is from Australia, and he's broken the 10-second barrier for 100 meters in Australian athletics championships. So he is unofficially the fastest kid alive, and he did it twice in 2 heats. So he did it twice. So it's not a fluke. He did bested 100 meters in less than 10 seconds. Twice. There's a championship round, like the actual finals, is coming in a few days, so we'll see what happens there. But this is going to be big news around the sporting world, especially international track scene, obviously, but around the sporting world when this thing catches on. Now, if you want to talk about this come Monday, because we won't have another edition of Things You Might Heard till Monday, it's going to take some work. Have a feeling that it may be the fact that his name is Gout that's going to catch some attention. But if it does, if it catches fire, we need you to make it happen. Now, all the stories that we produced for you here today, the 8 stories here, and the 10 we'll do for Monday, 10 for last Monday, came from our feeds on Facebook and X. Those are our links, our pages on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/This Is the Conversation Project and X.com/TH_conversation. We need you to just follow along and follow the feeds. And when stories pop up that are interesting to you, hit the emoji of your liking for Facebook, hit the like for YouTube or for X, and give a comment, share with other folks, engage in it, read it a few times. The more stories, physical engagement, the better chance of talking about it. And I want to do a quick shout out right now to my boy Rave X, who is a big supporter, big fan of his stuff. If you're in Boston and you get in the music scene, check out his band and see what's going on there. But he's a guy that a friend of mine met online, and we do collaborate things on there back and forth. But he's a guy who's very active in various stories and shows big interest in Facebook stories, and some of the odder ones out there. This one, we'll see. But we'll see on that one. But you just go on there and reply, use your emoji faces, do whatever you say about these things. Get your input out there on the early stages. As the stories go throughout the weekend and throughout the days, if you will, this weekend we have about 30 stories per day. So we'll have 3 stories plus a little bit of Monday morning. So we'll have over 90 stories to choose from Monday morning. On Monday, we'll pick 30 to 45 stories that are higher engaging, and from there whittle them down to 10 stories to present to you in the program here. The rest of the week, since it's 30 stories, we'll take the top 15, 16, put you 8 stories like today going forward. If you want to get a story that's particularly in there, check by the feeds and see what's going on. As you're checking your Facebook and your X anyway, see what we have going on and engage in stories that you see on our pages. If you think we picked the wrong story or you're kind of questioning anything we have, an email to us is always fine. Go to thisisconversationproject.com. Message us via the website or email us directly at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. And you, like I said, if you were not getting the right stories, you just want to chat something up or have a question, email is an awesome way to get to me. Yesterday, we teased that the cicadas were coming back. All they do is tease it. We're doing it again. They're coming soon. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. They're coming soon. We're going to once again spotlight very boring investment advice newsletters. And I'm going to do it hopefully this time with better diction, better words, and less stumbling, less stuttering, because I actually prepared for it or actually paid attention this time. The website is veryboringinvestmentadvice.com. And what I offer there is some simple investment advice, extremely boring stuff, nothing to the moon, nothing out there, nothing like stock tradings, nothing like a Ponzi schemes and or any sort of shell game type things to get into money. It gives you how some things basically work. Like I have a slideshow that goes along with a quick little video I did that is various ways to invest. I'll probably put that out there as a PDF, so you can just get that as a download for various different investment forms, investment types. And what it gives you is a way to learn about investing. Now it's a good time to know about it, because even if you weren't in it before, the markets are a big part of our economy. They're not the whole economy. The grocery stores and the eggs are more detailed for all of us. But if you have a 401k, if you have a pension fund, if your work company has an endowment, if they have things going on there, if you work at a bank, if you go to a bank, things are put into securities, things are put into different stocks, different bonds, different actions that make a difference. So now I have to write something on bonds, because I don't think I've really covered that very well, because that's what's basically turned back to tariff thing. Digressing. Every single weekday, I offer up a newsletter via an email newsletter. There's a link to that here, or you can find the links at the website, Very Boring Investment Advice. And it offers up six stocks of the thousands that are being traded every day that may not be in your portfolio, may not be in your purview. So we look for stocks that are trending on the day, or day prior, I should say, things that have high gainers, that are high losers, things that have maybe come out as IPOs, new stuff, and some stocks that are sort of deep down in the racks, on the B sides, if you will. Stocks you may have never thought about, stocks you may have never heard of, stocks you might not have come in contact with because of who you're talking to, but they're there for you to look into your own. Our biggest supporter of this one, basically who sponsors this, the newsletter and the website, is Robinhood. So you go to our link for our affiliate link for there and join there. You help us out there, and of course get a free stock from them. That's thisisconversationproject.com/Robinhood. That's there, of course. But if you want to just get in on some knowledge on stocks, on how things work, and see some things out there that are not on the beaten path, check out my newsletters. On weekends, on Saturday, I put out a market week that's a quick recap of the week, the ups and downs for 5 different market indicators, and 5 to 6 stocks that had big weeks over the week. And they're not big, not necessarily means they won big. They had a lot of news, had a lot of exposure, or things that may be IPOs, things that may have had some issues, things that may have tanked completely. So you get a chance of what is being going on, so you can be informed. The Conversation Project is about conversation and being informed. Very Boring Investment Advice is about being informed. You can check it out at veryboringinvestmentadvice.com, or click the link in this presentation, go directly to the page to get in on the newsletters in your email box. We go long on Fridays. We went really long today because I did extra exploitation in some of those stories. I think it was pretty good, but I did do a lot more commentary on stories I said I was going to read and go along with. And I gave a lot of insight on very boring investment advice. Hopefully you would enjoy that. We will very soon, once we get things kind of figured out, launch some other initiatives. We'll relaunch the Now What Network, because that's a big one, because really getting into politics right now and seeing what's happening, it's really kind of important to make sure you are involved in the political process, because who comes next is important. But right now, this is where we get really long, because we always give props to our partners for the Conversation Project. First off, our website, this is theconversationproject.com, our home where you can find old stuff, some newer stuff, some things we're doing, and get involved with this there. If you are willing and able, become a partner. Go to the website, click on the partnerships page, and become a financial backer and a part of our board of directors as well. At the cup of coffee level, this is Harold Braxton, Kobe Green, and Eldon Kidd. Still at Spare Change, Joy Winters, trying to get Venture to go up to that $5 level. We're trying. These are people who are offering up a little bit of change every single month to help us buy things. So they may not quite pay the bills, but they do pay a bill and some bills and help to make things go forward. Now, we do have monetization via YouTube going forward. We do have our affiliate links there as well. So you buy something from one of those sponsors, you get something there. But these are folks who have committed to a extended version of monthly inputs, monthly financial inputs to help us keep things going. If you think we're doing fairly well, we'd like your help. We are growing by by statures of our numbers. We're getting people higher in our X feeds. Facebook is kind of iffy because Facebook is what it is. But YouTube, we are very happy with what's going there. Hoping we hit 2,000. Hoping to, now that we hit this 2,000 mark, to double that, 12 months from now. That's our goal, 4,000 in 12 months. But we do need more support, more infrastructure, if you will, and you can help us out with that one. Go to our sponsors and buy from them using our links, and we get affiliate commissions from those. You go to the partnerships page, and you can join us there via Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com/JacobandPayne, and give a monthly donation. And you also get a chance to get extra info from me because I converse with them in secret, we'll call them secret videos and emails to them as well. And there's also one-time donations via your favorite platform of Venmo, of PayPal, of Cash App there as well. So those are popular there as well. Help us help you because it's all a part of growing the conversation. Now, with all that, the calls to actions remain the same. Check out the website, thisconversationproject.com. Check out our email and let us know what we can talk about by talking about it. The conversation inbox, gmail.com. Consider following us on our feeds. Consider being a partner. Consider just being a friend and making sure that you are just getting what you're getting out of this. And email me so we know we have a conversation. This is a dialogue. It's a very long dialogue today, but this is a dialogue. This is something we do as a way to chat about the news, not just have one person yell out, hot takes on things going forward. Hot takes are there, and hot takes happen, and some spicy things happen on the off channel. You're welcome. But we do want to talk about actual news stories that are conversational, that you can sit down and talk with your neighbors or your kids or your family that does not cause fights. And if it's things that do cause fights, give you the background, the actual stats, the actual facts behind it, and then you can throw whatever opinion you want behind it. You can hate Biden, hate Obama, hate Trump, whatever. That's all actually not a problem. But you have to actually acknowledge the things they do as opposed to just say, well, I ain't like them. Although you can do that. So stay hydrated, stay limber, stay on task. A lot of us are going to have some family gatherings or ultra familiar gatherings with friends and church members, things like that, coming up in a few weeks for Easter. Have fun. Yes, the magic bunnies that poop eggs are kind of weird, but have fun with it and enjoy the time together. And try not to get too many tiffs about the inner workings. Talk about the facts. Talk about things going on. Don't talk about Soulja Boy. That's not one to talk about. You can talk about Pat McAfee, I guess, because that's a bigger thing. Talk about things that are going forward. And, of course, make sure you keep your life as a marathon. Keep it going as long as possible and not purposely, unpurposely, mistakenly making your life a sprint. Bad thing. Love you. Mean it. We're going to do a quick rundown of this thing for the folks on the TikTok. Oh, we're on TikTok, so you get the hot takes there. If you want to get a shorter version of this, subscribe to TikTok. We do this all in 7-8 minutes. You're welcome. Meanwhile, we're done for Friday, April 11th. Tomorrow we'll have the weekly roundup show. It'll be a little late because the family is engaged in Easter egg activities for the morning. So I'm taking the kiddos out to engage and be engaging, be volunteering. Oh, trust me, they're going to love that. And of course, other things that happen again. Trump will do something because he likes to be busy on the weekend. So other than play golf, he'll say something. We'll have some updates. We'll have some hot takes. We'll have things going on, which may be a little late in the afternoon, evening for your wrap up. We'll maybe put the newsletter out first just to get you that taste of it. We've gone very long today. I want to thank everyone who's gone long with me today and goes along with me often, and just for being cool. Sometimes things in the world aren't so great in the background, but you put up a good front. Hopefully I'm putting up a good front, but in the background, it is the duck whose legs are going like crazy underneath. I think everyone who's reaching out for all the things we're doing, everyone who is giving me context of what's going on, everyone who's giving me constructive criticism, and some of you meanies as well, because there is something in what you're saying to the aspect, at least it's more comments, more numbers, more things I can actually use going forward things. Thanksgiving is November. I'm thankful for all of you. So with great thanks and great love, we'll wrap this up and get on with the rest of our day. Shall we?